Okay, guys, welcome back to blah, 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 blah. I do this every time.
You do.
We can talk just fine when I know we're not going.
Yeah. Beards and Flicks, baby. Bonus features.
Beards and Flicks bonus features.
Okay, guys, welcome back to Beards and Flicks. My name is Brad Johnson. I am joined, as always, with my partner in crime,
Justice League.
Justice League. How you doing, Mikey D?
I'm just here, man.
You're just here.
Yeah, man. I'm in a really weird headspace today.
What's up?
Have been for a while, man.
Like for the last week or so?
Yeah.
So we recorded last Sunday.
This week was really stressful, man. Like, at work.
Dude, I would text you and you wouldn't text me back for hours.
Man.
You were so busy.
Yeah, and normally it's not like that.
Normally it's like boom.
Yeah. And it's been stressful with work. I'm going to say some stuff today that could get me in trouble, and I don't really even care anymore.
About your job?
Yeah, I don't even care anymore. I'm at that point.
Well, what are we talking about today?
So this is actually the last episode of 2020, and it'll drop, obviously, the last Wednesday of 2020. And so I wanted to do like a 2020 year in review recap, just in terms of like movies, current events, things that are happening just in the world in general, and just have like a basic discussion. So this is going to be the last episode of the year in 2020, and this has been a historical year for a number of different reasons, a crazy year, and I wanted to just do like a 2020 year in review recap of like things that have affected the film industry, like things that have affected our lives, changes that we've gone through personally, and just the climate and the state of the nation and the world, kind of how it is as of today. Because it feels like everything is in disarray.
This has been the longest year of my life.
I think everybody would agree.
I feel like, and I've people have said this too, I feel like March, like the beginning of COVID, was over a year ago.
It does feel like it's been
maybe over even like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's been so long since we've known any sort of normal. Like we're in the new normal, right?
Yeah. I'm already sick of hearing that.
And it's constantly changing, right? We're not in lockdown right now, but I feel like there's another lockdown coming.
Well,
England's lockdown right now.
Yeah, for I think another
phase
2 or 3
2 of their
weeks.
lockdown.
Yeah.
Yep. I heard that New Mexico is locked down. I don't know about the viability. I don't know about the viability of that statement, but I heard that New Mexico's locked down.
Yeah.
And I feel like Texas is coming soon.
I want to talk to you about that real quick because you kind of just brought something up that I wasn't thinking of until now. When you said you don't know the viability of it. It's so easy for us to just believe or just go by what we read, like a headline or
if somebody tells you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also just as easy to go fact check, but we never fact check.
All you got to do is look it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a big thing that I've tried to do in 2020 is fact check, because in the beginning of the lockdown, there were all these rumors and we were flooded with information about COVID.
Sure. And a lot of it was false.
And every week it was something else.
Yep.
And we'd get these news reports and all this and that. So I started trying to fact check as much as I possibly could.
And then you have people that don't believe it.
Yeah.
They just won't believe it at all.
Right.
They won't wear a mask. They don't buy into that at all.
Yeah.
I was actually with somebody today at lunch, and he was like, he's not from here, and he was like, there's nobody wearing masks where I live. And I'm like, dude,
Wait, where's he from?
he lives in Lufkin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so nobody there is wearing masks.
Yeah.
We played a show in Mineola a couple weeks ago. Nobody was wearing masks.
Yeah. That's interesting. That was an indoor show, right?
It was an indoor show. The theater we played in, we talked to the owner of the theater, and she was like, I'm not closing my theater like you want me to. Shut me down. And they
Wow.
kept doing plays all during
That's
the
insane.
pandemic. And so it's weird. It's been such a strange year for live entertainment. Card 53 hasn't performed since February 22nd, before this Mineola show we did. So we had a good 8 or 9 month stretch with no performances at all.
Yeah.
And we kept thinking we were going to perform, and like the local governments here were like, no, we're not going to let you perform. There's no live events happening. There is now live music at outdoor events.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, outdoor venues in Tyler. But I don't expect us to play at the Liberty anytime soon.
Same. I don't think so either. That's one thing I missed about 2020 is because the last couple of years, living in Dallas, I was going to like concerts.
Constantly.
But now it's like There were so many acts that I wanted to see this year, and I had plans to, and didn't get to. And I don't think we're going to get any live shows until at least summer 2021.
Man, I heard entertainment news. I heard a few months ago, somebody big in the entertainment industry was talking about like arena events, right? Arena concerts, and they're saying that they're not probably going to come back until like 2022.
Man, it's insane, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy year.
we
like
have
you said.
never experienced anything like this before.
Right.
On this scale, the amount of deaths, the amount of just.
People who've lost their jobs. They lost jobs and didn't have a job to go back to.
A lot of my friends in the entertainment industry are not working right now and haven't been working for months. They're trying to figure out new career paths.
Yeah.
Because they don't know when they're going to go back to work. And I have several friends that are like just haven't been working at all since March, or April, or whatever.
Man.
Luckily, in the industry that I'm in roofing industry, we got busier, so it didn't really change for us. But a lot of my friends were being laid off, and or furloughed, or working from home.
Yeah.
And still to this day working from home.
Yeah, I'm working from home. So I got laid off from a job December 2019, and I had an interview set up for a job mid-March, right before the lockdown really hit. And we had a phone call. They wanted to meet me the next day. I went in person, and they were impressed. A week later, they said, "Oh, well, we're gonna put a holding freeze on the job."
Hiring freeze.
Yeah, hiring freeze. Yeah. So it took me another month and a half before they got back to me, and I've been working from home since May.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been rough, man. It's been rough on some people. Hold on. It's been rough on everybody in different ways.
Yeah. So entertainment industry, movie theaters. You know, like Tenet was the guinea pig. You and I actually kind of were talking about it when we saw it. We're like, hey, this is only going to be a test release to see how people do with going to the theaters and wearing masks and whatever, social distancing. It didn't work, and it's they're pushing other movies aside and or back, or they're releasing them on streaming services. We talked recently about some news that broke about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and I'm glad they made this decision because I was hoping they did. Yeah. So they were initially saying that they were going to either release it on HBO Max on Christmas Day or wait until summer 2021 to release it in theaters. So what they're going to do is release it in theaters and HBO Max on Christmas Day.
Yeah, which is, in my mind, it's kind of insane, man.
Yeah.
Like, they shouldn't be releasing movies in theaters anymore.
No one's going to go see it. I mean, people will go, but it won't be like the droves of people that normally go.
Exactly. Like, Christmas is a big day. Okay, so it's another part of my traditions for growing up with my family.
Yeah.
We would do a Christmas Eve movie. We would all get together and go see a movie on Christmas Eve. Sometimes it was a Christmas movie, like a themed movie, but a lot of times it was just a movie that came out that was big.
Yeah.
Movie houses learned that droves of people were going to the movies during Thanksgiving and during Christmas, and so they started like releasing movies during those times because they knew they would make more money because more people are going.
We talked about traditions before in another podcast, and one of mine that I didn't mention was, or maybe I did, we would all go to a movie Christmas Day. We'd get up, open gifts, eat breakfast, and then pick a movie. Like you said, it wasn't always Christmas themed. Right. Like lately, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been the Star Wars because they come out.
Of course,
Christmas.
on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we've been seeing lately. But this year it'll just be at the house chilling. We'll probably watch Wonder Woman on HBO Max.
Yeah. I took mom and dad to go see. Like, I bought their tickets, just me and them. We went and saw the Rise of Skywalker together.
Yeah.
Around the time of Christmas last year. It's just us three. It was great.
Yeah. I have a theory that I've been kind of tinkering around with in terms of how COVID has affected the film industry. Okay. Specifically in the way movies have been released and
in production.
Yeah.
I mean, the people stopped filming this year. Not just movies, like all production completely, for Netflix shows, for whatever.
Oh, so by the way, you talk about Netflix. Netflix killed the COVID game. Once we got into lockdown, Netflix was dropping stuff almost weekly.
It seems like they had some stuff that they were kind of waiting on dropping.
Yeah.
And they just decided to ramp up the drops. And you're right, like more movies started dropping on streaming services, not just Netflix alone, but like other shows that they had been producing were ready to go, and they just pushed them out. Or
I think Netflix just stood out to me because they kind of kicked it off, and then Amazon ramped up. Disney Plus, Hulu, like you said, all the other DSPs. But my theory about films and release dates moving forward, I think this is shown, like big studio execs like the Warner Brothers and the Paramounts, the New Line Cinemas, that movies need to go to streaming. If it's not going to be a big blockbuster movie.
Which, what does that mean anymore?
So here's what I think is going to happen. I think a timetable was already in place. I'd say maybe the next 10 or 15 years. I think that big blockbuster films were going to be the only films released in theaters, and everything else, $50 million budget or under, was going to go direct to streaming. That's my theory. I don't know. I don't have any information.
That's interesting.
And with COVID, I think that sped up that timetable.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen is, I think over the next 5 or 6 years, you're going to see more and more films released on streaming services and not in the theater.
So lower budget independent films are going to be straight to streaming.
Straight to streaming.
No theater release.
Right.
And then the big budget movies like Bond and Marvel movies
And DC.
X-Men, DC movies, Star Wars, those will be the ones released in theaters.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna have free reign of the whole 12 months instead of like the usual 4 or 5.
Right.
So they're gonna be able to release every other month, and those movies will run for 2 or 3 months. And on top of that, I think what's gonna happen because of that is you're gonna see a lot of theaters downsize. You'll see less theaters per city, and I think that's what's gonna happen. I say, like I said, in the next 5 years. I'll wait and see what happens, but that's my theory for now.
So because of the, schedules all being thrown off, productions being stopped, movies are being pushed back. So we were going to get certain movies this year and next year that are being pushed back to the following year. For instance, like Thor: Love and Thunder was going to be released next year, and it's pushed to 2022. Ghostbusters: Afterlife was going to come out this summer. It's coming out next summer. And I follow Jason Reitman, who's the director of Ghostbusters: Afterlife, the son of Ivan Reitman from the original movies. They just finished scoring last night. He posted on his Instagram that they just finished scoring the film. So I heard an interview with him on some podcast, and they're talking about how he was able to kind of focus more on some visual effects that they were working on post, and focus more on other edits or whatever else so that he can kind of polish up before the release, because it was kind of being rushed, as it happens, on productions. And so now that he had this extra, he's been given extra time, he used it wisely and kind of did some other things. And so they just finished the score last night.
See, you talk about them having more time because of COVID to polish some things.
Right.
The same thing's happening with Zack Snyder's Justice League director's cut. He said all this extra time because of COVID, and he wanted to do it right for the fans who wanted to see the movie and see his vision and his version. And he's got I think he had an extra $50 million to add all this extra footage. I think I read somewhere last night that it's going to be an extra 2.5 hours of footage.
Do you know if they're going to release it as a series, like 4 1-hour pieces, or is it going to be a long extended release? So
I'm still hearing four episodes.
That's what I'm hearing too.
Which I am not a fan of.
Have you seen the images that have been released recently about from Zack Snyder's personal Instagram social media accounts, how they've made Steppenwolf look different?
Yeah.
Like his armor looks like the Game of Thrones chair.
It does.
Or do you remember that in Knives Out, that big knife thing, the big art piece of art?
Right.
Somebody equated it to him looking like that too.
Yeah, I get that, and I like it. It looks really cool.
I mean, it's what they're taking this time. These directors, producers are taking this time to go, you know what? What else can we do to this movie to make it better?
So that's the thing, because they have so much time, it's either going to be better or worse, because you have all this extra time to tweak every little thing.
And keep tweaking.
And normally filmmakers don't have that kind of time.
True. They're on a schedule. They got to get it done by this time. Yeah. So movies that did come out this year that we saw, newer movies. We talked about Tenet before.
So before lockdown, I saw this movie called Underwater with Kristen
I
Stewart.
wanted to see that, and you said it was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And since I've seen it, I want to see it again. Since I've seen it, I've read rumors and theories. There were more theories. They're not actual canon, but it's a theory that this could be a Cloverfield sequel, or a prequel, I'm sorry.
What?
If they wanted it to be.
It's a monster movie?
It is.
I didn't know that.
And I won't spoil anything else because I think it's worth seeing.
Rainn Wilson, Kristen Stewart.
So it was Kristen Stewart and TJ Miller and it's an underwater monster movie. And if you put underwater
like-
and monster movies, I'm all in.
Dude, I like monster movies.
Yeah.
I enjoy being scared by a giant monster.
So this isn't really a big spoiler because I mean, if you look at the trailer, there's monsters in it.
Sure.
But there's a really big twist with about 20 minutes left that you didn't see coming. I saw this with my sister, and when that twist happens, I didn't realize what I was looking at. She figured it out first, and she kind of tapped me on the shoulder. And then when I realized what's going on, we do what you and I do. We like both look at each other like, oh my gosh, what's happening? This is happening now. But it's really cool. Like everything's like deep underwater. So I'm always looking in the background to see little bitty things that she didn't catch. Like there's certain moments where you briefly see one of the monsters in the shadow or in the.
There's more than one monster?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And I won't say anything more.
Okay.
I'm not a big Kristen Stewart fan, so it's weird that she gets a lot of
Yeah,
work.
she's pretty one-dimensional in her acting.
Yeah. Now, personality-wise, in certain interviews, she's really cool. If you've watched what's that Hot Wings show that they do on YouTube?
Oh, Hot Ones.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's on that, and her personality really does show on that. So it gave me a different perspective of her.
Hot Ones was introduced to me about this time last year. I'd never heard of it before, and some of my friends were like, hey, you gotta watch Hot Ones. And so I started watching. Dude, that show is really fun. Listeners, if you wanna watch a really fun show about eating hot wings, and the wings get hotter as the interview goes on, he interviews these big celebrities.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. So Hot Ones on YouTube.
And he's one of the best
He's a great interviewer.
interviewers. His
Yeah.
questions are incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
And his questions get more difficult as the wings get hotter.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes is Scarlett Johansson.
I haven't seen hers.
Shia LaBeouf's episode was really fun.
Yeah, I loved his.
There's a million episodes. Like
I mean, any A-list actress or actor that's out, I mean, they've done it for the most part. So after Underwater, then Bad Boys for Life came out.
didn't see it.
And-
You and I talked about going and seeing it together,
Yeah.
but it didn't release in theaters.
No, it did.
It did,
I
and you
saw
saw
it.
it in theaters.
I saw it up in Dallas. A cousin of mine came into town, and we checked it out. And it was a decent return to the franchise, but I think it just ultimately suffered from taking too long in between 2 and 3 to get this done. And supposedly there's a 4th one in the works. But after that, in terms of new movies, it was just Tenet. So we're talking 6-7 months after that.
Yeah.
Because right before lockdown, we were supposed to get Quiet Place 2, and everybody was excited about that, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's when we started getting the delays, and some smaller movies have come out over the course of the year, but nothing substantial. A Vin Diesel movie came out, Bloodshot.
How was that?
I didn't see it.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I didn't see it. My dad sent me a link. I won't say where he got the link, but it was obviously a bootleg. But he said it was a legit copy of the film, but it was just a very predictable.
How did your dad find a bootleg?
I can't incriminate the source. Sorry.
That's funny.
But I mean, we've had a lot of smaller releases throughout the year, and none of them had done really well. So we get Tenet, that's supposed to be the test movie to see if people will come out and watch this movie.
And it was horrible.
Yeah, it was.
No,
supposed to-
sorry. The movie was great.
The movie was great.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
The movie was great, and you and I both love the movie.
I've seen it twice now in theaters.
Man,
Yeah,
I want to see it again.
I mean, I want to see it a third
Why
time.
would
It's
you do
it's
that?
that
Go see a
good.
movie without me. You're not allowed to do that.
I was in Dallas, and I think I was bored one Sunday morning.
It's going to be streaming. Actually, it's streaming in December. So, pros and cons of 2020.
So personally for me, because I can only speak for myself in both of those arenas, pros, I found a job during COVID, which is insane.
Finding a job during a pandemic cannot be easy.
No. What helped me was the job that I have now. They had interest in me before the lockdown, and they had the opportunity to speak with me on the phone and meet with me in person prior to the lockdown. So they kept me basically just on the back burner and decided whenever we can get to a manageable position to open back up or whatever, we'll reach back out. And they did, and it's been remote ever since. But I hate this job.
So, tell me how it's been like working from home. Because I worked from home a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Mainly it was coming up here into the office and working because there's only 6 of us that work in this company.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty spread out. So it was fine for us to come in.
Right.
And a lot of our stuff is outside. But how was it like? Were you able to get yourself up in the morning and do your 8 to 5? What
So-
was there a schedule like that or?
So my schedule is 8:30 to 5:30, and I get up at about 8:25. I literally roll out of bed. So I have an alarm set for 8.
Nobody got to see you, so
No, right.
yeah.
So I'll hit the snooze, or the snooze will hit twice, cycle through twice, and then about 8:25, I'll just drag myself out of bed. I Krispies. I don't do anything. Just go right to my laptop, log in, and I'm working.
Is it like data entry, or are you like emailing people, or what's the deal?
I mean, it's everything. So my job title is billing analyst,
Okay.
but what I do has nothing to do with billing analyst. It's a part of that,
I've had a job title like that before.
but it encompasses so much more that is not in the job description, that I was not prepared for, no one told me about.
Right.
And on top of that, it's like I'm 40. I'm getting to a point where I want to do what I want to do career-wise, and I want to I want to be a filmmaker. I want to do that full-time finally, and not have to try to do that when I have free time on the weekend or after work, or when I have several days off. I want to do that full-time. So this, to me, is just like a distraction. It's in the way. I get zero satisfaction out of what I do. No sense of accomplishment when a task is done.
How many people are working in jobs like that?
A lot. And not just this year, that's just in general. I read a statistic years ago that they said I think 50% of Americans are in a career field that they don't want, don't like, didn't go to college for, but they're just kind of stuck in it. I have a cousin who's about 10 years older than I am, and she regrets her career path because she got locked into the accounting and the finance career field early, and she just stuck with it. But now she's making so much money that she can't like bail on the money and try something else.
Yeah, because she's kind of like stuck.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. And I look at her as kind of a cautionary tale because I don't want to be her. I don't want to wake up 10 years later and I'm still stuck in this. So I'm really trying to find a way out. Obviously with filmmaking, especially going the independent route, it's a grind. You got to grind it out. And I'm just trying to be patient enough to get there. It's just been tough. But I mean, I don't want to sound ungrateful because a lot of people don't work and haven't, like you said, haven't worked since the
In
lockdown.
months.
Yeah.
At least 6 months.
Right. And this job has afforded me a few luxuries. I was able to move into a nicer apartment over the summer. I'm looking at a few years down the line, I'll be debt free in like 3 or 4 years, which is going to be nice. So I don't want to sound ungrateful. This job has allowed me to take care of certain responsibilities that in the past I wouldn't be able to. But it's just, my mind is just so focused on what I want to do now with my life, and which is filmmaking and not, anything with accounting or finance. So it's kind of bittersweet.
You were able to get some film equipment.
Yeah, so what I want to do is I want to become a filmmaker that uses your cell phone. Steven Soderbergh famously did it with the movie called Unsane. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It was a really well done film. It stars Claire Foy. She's opposite. It stars Claire Foy. She's opposite Ryan Gosling in First Man.
She's really pretty.
Yeah, and she was in The Girl Caught in the Spider's Web, which is a really good movie also.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot. And The Crown. I think she's most famous for The Crown.
Okay, I haven't seen The Crown, but I
Yeah.
have a lot of friends that watch it.
Same. I haven't seen it, but I have people that have seen it, and they swear by it. And it was really good. It was a really good movie. Like I said, Steven Soderbergh shot this a few years ago on an iPhone 7, actually 2 or 3 iPhone 7s. And I've been doing a lot of research on the types of equipment he used to film. So I've been slowly but surely amassing this equipment he's used to try and build this mini film production based around an iPhone. So I've bought some things. I still have a list of things I need to buy, but I think I'll be able to start at least producing small little skits and videos, hopefully in the next couple of months. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited about that. Yeah.
That's great. Moving towards your goal of, that's another step towards your goal, right?
Right.
Getting the equipment. You have the scripts, probably outlines maybe ready to
Absolutely.
start shoot some stuff. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So I guess to talk about other changes at the top of the year, I wasn't in a position financially to get this stuff.
Right.
And I was thinking, okay, I'm laid off in December from this job. Now I have the time to film stuff.
Yeah.
Had the time, but didn't have the finances to get the equipment right. And now, here we are at the end of the year, 12 months later, have the equipment and the finances and don't really have the time.
Not necessarily have the time.
Yeah, so it's kind of pick and choose, but I'd much rather be in the position that I'm in at the end of the year versus where I was at the top of the year.
Yep. And a lot of our free time is going to this.
This is going to be a springboard that will allow us to create other things as well. This is a test, I think, to see how we can create. I think we're doing a really good job of it. I love doing it. You love doing
This
it.
is so much fun.
We look forward to it.
I was talking at lunch today with a friend, one of the guys in the comedy group, and we haven't been performing since February, and we performed again in December, but twice, in the last 8 months, which is really, really odd for us because we were performing once a month, and they were sold out shows, and we went from sold out shows. The last big show we had was in Lufkin, February 22nd,
Okay.
and it was a really big show, great show.
Yeah.
And that was it for months and months. And I thrive on stage. I thrive in that arena. And then so we started this, and I'm so glad we did.
Same.
This has been a really good thing for me. I know it's been a good thing for you. And just being out in public and talking to friends. Last night I was at Truvine, and like a handful of friends were like, "Hey, how's the podcast going?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's going great. I guess you don't know because you're not listening."
Right. Yeah, I've gotten that a few times from some people. They're like, "Oh, how's the podcast?" So moving forward, anybody ask me how it's going, I'm gonna say, "Well, if you listen to us, you'll know how it's going." And it's interesting. You talked about how you guys haven't performed since February, and a few weeks ago you talked about how you guys felt rusty, and I was intrigued by that because you guys are improv, which is all on the fly. So I didn't think there would be any rust because you guys just kind of create in the moment, but you guys haven't been collectively doing that. So there is some camaraderie with being together.
Absolutely. We've done a few things on our YouTube channel and for social media and little videos we've been writing and or producing and stuff, but nothing like the rush of getting up on stage in front of a sold out crowd and doing our thing.
Hopefully 2021 comes, you guys can start to perform in more outdoor venues.
Yeah,
because there are some available.
That's where we're going towards.
So-
is thinking about those venues, maybe even finding venues that don't exist yet and making them a venue. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
Well, it's like the Field of Dreams, mantra, if you build it, they will come. So, and I feel like you guys do have enough of a following where if you were able to create something that maybe was just for outdoor performances only, I think you guys would have enough of a draw to where, you could actually justify performing multiple times throughout the year.
And we're also kind of branching out to other cities that we don't normally play in,
Right.
Because those cities aren't necessarily as locked down, or their rules are a little more lax on what's going on lately. But the Tyler city government isn't on board yet with performing indoors.
Yeah.
And whatever. I mean, that's what they have to do. That's what they have to do.
Right.
I disagree with it, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. So speaking of government and disagreements, that's a great segue to the political climate of 2020.
Man, what a year!
I mean, it's been really insane.
Politically, what a year!
Yeah. Obviously, at this point, we all know we have a new president, Joe Biden. However you feel about that, however you feel about it, I don't think there's any reason to.
We're not here to talk about our opinions on that.
I mean, yeah. So we're not even going to go there. But obviously, it does mean big change moving forward. We'll see how all that plays out. I'm leaving that all up to Joe.
I mean, I hope that the man that was elected brings more Black Lives Matter things into fruition.
Yeah, I do too, because if this election has taught me anything, it's that this nation couldn't be more divided than it is right now.
Man, and we learned this year just how divided we were.
Yeah.
You know,
It's very disappointing, to be honest with you. It is.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm a little pissed too when I found out how. So obviously there's electoral votes and then there's just general votes. Right. And when I saw the number of general votes, I mean, it was very close, almost 50-50. Mm-hmm. And I was disappointed. I was hurt. I was pissed. I posted about it a few times. Mm-hmm. You reached out to me. A few others reached out to me just to kind of vent and talk. Yeah. And I'm disappointed in just humans, man. Like, this is not just white or black. This is just people in general.
Everybody.
Yeah, I've kind of always had like certain level of skepticism when it comes to just people and how they move and this and that and how they treat others. But this year, man, has really shown like the underbelly of human nature. Yeah. With the Black Lives Matter you talked about, all the deaths that kind of kicked that Black Lives Matter back up into high gear with the Ahmaud Arbery tape, the Breonna Taylor, the George Floyd, and so many others. I mean, I call these public assassinations because that's exactly what they are.
Right.
They're in public display, they're recorded, they're blasted on social media and news outlets for everyone to see. And for me, I try not to watch those videos, man, because some people I think are numb to it because they're like, oh, it's just another one.
Right.
And that's a part of the problem too. But for me, it's really hard for me to watch those videos because it's like, and that's another one of my people that got killed. Yeah, seeing those videos, man, it just does something like to my soul. Like I feel it deep in the pit of my stomach, and I'm just not okay with it. And I think moving forward into 2021, I'm gonna kind of take on more responsibility to further educate my white friends.
Yep.
Because I feel like I'm doing my white friends an injustice if I don't try to help them see the other side, try to challenge them to be more proactive. Because this year we kind of learned that it's not just about being against racism, you have to be anti-racist. Because being against racism just basically means you don't agree with you don't believe in the black lives that are being murdered and taken from us, but you're also not actively engaging in causing change. So to be anti-racist means you are 100% against it, but you're also actively trying to figure out how can I get involved. And I think it's going to take everybody. It's going to take people in high positions of power of every color to come together and say, okay, you know what? This has been happening for too long. I'm fed up with it. I'm going to pull some strings and use my position of power to try to make that happen.
Right. We now have more women of color in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
We have more, I mean, look at the vice president.
Huge deal. Very big deal. She's going to be a role model to young women of color, just like Michelle Obama was.
Exactly.
Even though Michelle Obama, I mean, she kind of inherited that role, Kamala Harris, basically you had to vote for her because
She
you're
was
voting for
elected.
Biden. So,
She was
I mean,
elected for that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to do great things.
I do too.
I am going to kind of just sit back and just watch, first. I think a telltale sign of an intelligent person is you sit back and watch and observe, and you're not so quick to speak. And I'm also going to try to work on that next year as well. But especially with these two taking office, I'm really just going to sit back and kind of observe and try to filter out anything that I hear or read on social media feeds, because that just feeds into a negative energy that I don't want to be a part of.
I mean, also, typically it takes a while for a new administration to kind of get going, right?
Yeah.
They're there for 4 years. The
Right.
first year is probably going to be a little slower on some major changes, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of groundwork that has to be done, a lot of foundations have to be made. And like you said, a lot of the first term of a new president is kind of undoing or fixing problems from the previous person. And like I said, we're not going to do a deep dive on it, but Joe Biden has a lot of work ahead of him, for sure. So, but I'm excited about it, honestly, from a black person's perspective, and just from a human race perspective, because he seems like he really does care about the social environment in the world and in this country. And I think him and Kamala are going to do big things.
Yeah, I agree.
And go out and vote, not just for president.
Especially for local government
Local
stuff.
government is actually more important. A lot of people don't know this. I just recently figured this out. Local elections are way more important.
Yeah, typically I don't vote for the national election stuff, and I just vote for the local government stuff.
Right. Okay.
Because that's where changes happen.
Right. That's where the laws and the rules are changed. So yeah, those are way more important.
Right.
So I said we were going to do a deep dive. We kind of went there anyway, but it's fine. It's fine. And that was a good topic.
So for me personally this year, it's kind of been a year of unlearning and thinking differently, working on myself, especially the last few months.
Right.
Just taking time out for myself. I've stepped away from a few social groups and just focusing on myself. And it's not. I don't want people to think it's a selfish thing, because my goal really is selflessness.
Yeah.
But I need to fix some things. I've just seen some things in my life that I need to fix.
Well, have you ever heard that phrase? You can't take care of somewhere else before you take care of home. You got to take care of home
Exactly.
first. You're no good to me or anybody else that's in your life if you can't fix yourself first.
Well, and to put it in biblical terms, like you have to remove the plank from your own eye
Yeah.
before you can try to help somebody else.
Exactly.
Right? So, or the spec or whatever the phrase is.
Right.
But that's kind of what I've been focusing on, just making myself, I've been single for about a year and a half. It would be great to meet somebody and to start dating.
Same.
But I want to make sure that I'm ready.
Right.
I don't want to, I'm not the type of person that just rushes into another relationship.
Yeah.
I've made that mistake in the past and since learned from it. But I'm ready to, I'm focusing on myself so that I will be ready.
Right. So during the Playing by Heart episode, I kind of briefly touched on how I feel like I always am vocal about, I'm not the relationship type. I don't want one, but deep down I do. Right. And even now, another month and a half after that, I think I struggle with the idea of, do I really want it or do I not? And just because I want it, is it something that I need at this time of my life? Because what you talk about, I have certain things I need to take care of for myself and work on for myself that are deeply rooted issues, not just from the last year or two, but just, even in childhood things that I haven't dealt with and kind of have been swept under the rug. Right. This year kind of brought a lot of those things back up to the surface because we've had more time to kind of be more reflective.
Be alone with yourself.
Yeah. But I think also when it comes to relationships, not just, intimately, but like our friendship or whoever, right. You have to put a certain amount of energy into that. And it takes away from that. You give out that energy, you have to replenish it. I don't know if I have the energy to really take on a serious relationship right now. Yeah. I have so much I'm dealing with personally. We've got this podcast that I don't want to neglect in any way. Right. And I'm trying to get my filmmaking career off the ground. So I feel like I have a lot of things going on already, and I wouldn't be able to honestly dedicate the energy that's required to have a flourishing relationship, even though I really want one. Yeah. So there's that inner conflict, but and it helps though because the person I want to be with is with somebody else right now, so I'm just waiting it out. Real quick, can we just get rid of TikTok, please? I'm over it. I'm sick of seeing these videos.
It's going to go the way of Vine.
Yeah.
It's going to go away. You know it is.
Eventually.
Because, like Instagram and Facebook have Reels.
Yeah.
Or Instagram does. Facebook doesn't really. They have
no,
stories.
They got stories,
but
yeah.
Instagram is doing Reels just like TikTok is.
And so whenever I see a TikTok video, it's always these like 14, 15-year-old white girls doing these weird dances. Yeah. I guess maybe it's because I'm 40, but I just don't get it.
That's like 80% of the content on TikTok.
But what is I don't understand why.
I don't understand either. Maybe it's because we're in our 40s and we don't understand this.
I know a lot of TikTok videos have made certain songs extremely popular.
Absolutely.
Because they pick a song and then everybody's doing the same dance to it.
And there's a limited amount of songs to choose from to put in your TikToks.
Okay.
I have a coworker that's like 23, and on Friday she was like doing her work, like she's like emailing and stuff. She had her phone and she was watching TikToks. Like I've never spent that much time on TikTok. I don't understand.
But Vines are way cooler
Vines
than TikTok
were
videos.
so much cooler. We've talked about Vines on our podcast.
Right.
But like, I hope it goes away. It's not. There's a few exceptions to the rule, as there always is on entertainment, right? Like for instance, King of Queens dude, what's his name?
Kevin James.
Kevin James's TikTok is fire.
Right.
Because like, and a lot of his content's coming from his YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Some of the new content is for TikTok.
Yeah.
But it's a really funny TikTok channel.
Right.
Or profile. What
do you call it? I don't know. It is, yeah.
I don't even know what you call it.
But I guess they've really been brought to the forefront because during the pandemic,
everybody's at home.
Everybody's at home. People are bored. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not mad that they're trying to, I guess, create a new outlet to channel that energy and release it. Right. But you're just doing these little weird dances. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Content this year has been we've seen Quibi get really, really popular and then go bankrupt.
Yep.
Right? We've seen TikTok's rise in fame. We've seen movie theaters basically be non-existent this year.
Yeah.
It's been like we saw the Dodgers win the World Series.
And the Lakers.
The Lakers won the World Series. The Lakers sports. It's such an interesting year, man.
Yeah. Let me ask you a
for
question.
Entertainment, for sports, for politics, for hospitals, for...
Oh, man. So speaking of hospitals, there's a lot that are already at capacity again because, there's been a spike,
major spike,
which, they've been saying is going to happen.
Yep.
And and to your point earlier, you said that you met some guy that doesn't believe this is real. They've been saying this whole time. There's going to be another wave. It's going to be worse, and it has been. So,
I mean, I've had friends die.
wow.
I've
yeah.
had people that know people that have died.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you not think this is real?
Right.
It's real.
So that's how it started
There
out.
is a very low percentage of people. What am I trying to say? If you get it, the recovery rate. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a very good percentage of recovery rate.
Yeah.
So if you do get it, yeah, you may have some lung damage. Yeah, you may not have your sense of taste or smell for a little while or whatever. I know there's been some extreme cases, but if you get it, you're going to recover. That's the general.
Well, in the extreme cases, usually it's taken like 14 to 21 days to fully recover. Like from the day you get it to the day you're back to like 100%. On the extreme cases, but like you said, yeah, for the most part, if you get it, you're gonna recover. But I mean, it all comes down to simple ideology. You wash your hands, you wear a mask, stuff you should already be doing anyway. If you just are clean and take care of yourself. Well, remember there was a while back we recorded an episode and went to Jake's on the square, and there's a sign that says you have to wear a mask. We walk in, ask the host, and he says, "Oh well, yeah, it's a sign there, but whatever."
That's the mentality. But then, did you look at New Zealand? New Zealand was the first country to eradicate COVID. It's because, of course their population is a lot smaller than other countries.
Right.
And there's hobbits living there. But they follow the rules. Like, a lot of other countries followed suit, and they were able to get rid of. England, however, has not. They're in a second lockdown right now. But
see, I wonder if that was more precautionary or was that reactive. I don't know.
It probably is more precautionary, I hope, because I think looking at their numbers, they're not anywhere near.
I think they just saw like a little surge and they said, let's just cut this off right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud, to use a phrase I don't normally say. That's weird.
That is weird. Like you said, here in the U.S., we're very. Braggadocious, is that a word you could use to describe just the American mindset?
Mode of thinking.
Yeah.
It's more like, in my opinion, it's more like, how dare you tell me what to do?
Yeah. And which is a very American way of thinking.
That's a very American way of thinking, and I hate that. That's a mindset that I used to be in. For a long time, until I was able to correct that in myself, was I didn't like being critiqued. I hated when somebody critiqued me and told me what to do.
Yeah.
That is a very immature way of living and thinking. And a lot of Americans are like that.
That's very
They're like,
true.
how dare you tell me what to do? I'm not going to wear that mask. You're not going to take my rights. You're not going to take my rights away from me.
Right. Right.
And we're not taking rights away from you. It's just wearing a mask to protect others and yourself.
And that goes into the larger problem with the social climate in this country, where people don't want to do their part for whatever reason to make a better change for this country. But so there's two things about this virus that don't scare me, but they concern me. One is I was recently reading that this virus can be transferred to animals, and then it mutates. And then if a human gets it, it's something completely different, which to me makes it seem like it could be way worse. And the second thing is you can get it more than once. So in the beginning, like I said
It's like
earlier,
the flu. I mean, the flu, you can get the flu more than once.
Yeah, more than once.
And this is a flu strain.
Yes. So in the beginning, there's all these different theories, and I even received a fake news recorded message that somebody said they have a cousin that works in the Pentagon, and they're talking about not lockdown, but what's way worse. They do it in The Siege with
Steven Seagal? The Siege?
That's Under Siege.
Oh, it's Under Siege.
Yeah.
Oh, The Siege. The city.
Yeah, there's New York. It was Bruce Willis was the military guy in Denzel Washington. Yeah, so I received this fake news message recording. This woman says she has a cousin who works in the Pentagon, and they're actually in preparations to go into martial law. And for a second, so that was the very beginning of lockdown. So when I heard that, I was a little concerned because I know martial law is like worst case scenario. Yeah. There's what do you call it when you have to be in by a certain time?
Curfew.
There's a curfew with martial law, and if you're out, you're arrested indefinitely. Yep. So during martial law, you can be arrested on site, no Miranda rights read to you, and you can be held indefinitely and never be questioned.
Yep.
And food's like delivered by the military, and there's tanks and army, there's tanks and Coast Guard all throughout the streets, and it would look like a war zone. And that to me was scary. And so I kind of was like, oh, I hope this isn't true, but this recording. And so I sent it to a group chat of my friends. And about a week or two later, one of my other cousins texted me the same message, word for word. I said, oh, this is a hoax.
Yeah,
This
it's
is word
fake.
for word.
Yeah, right.
And then, so after that, I was like, that's when I said I'm going to start fact checking everything I hear, because there's just stuff being put out there to cause panic and fear.
So how do you go about fact checking? Are you checking multiple news sites to see if this story's there?
Yes, that's
Or-
exactly what I do. So,
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if I read something on like social media, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I'm going right to a news source to fact check.
Yeah, and Facebook's even implemented new things where they will like hide an image or say that this is fake news. You know,
Yeah.
click to see it or whatever it says.
Right. There's been so many new coined phrases and terms in the last few years, like fake news, the new normal. It's
I mean, fake news was from Trump. That was
Right.
his big thing.
yeah.
We've also seen this year a whole nother social media site be created and people leaving Facebook to go join this other site. Have you heard about it?
I haven't. This is crazy.
Really?
I really haven't. What is this?
It is called, oh, there it is. It's called Parler, Parler.
I've never heard of this.
It's actually ran by a bunch of Trump supporters.
Oh my God.
It is a mainly Republican social media site. And literally, like for several weeks in November, people were like ditching Facebook and and they would post on Facebook, "Hey, here's my name on Parler. Join me on Parler."
What?
And people that were saying, "Hey, this is my last post on Facebook. Join me over on Parler." And I don't buy it. I think it's not gonna stick. I think
That's
it's-
crazy because so I watch a lot of these shows about like cults and religious groups and terrorist organizations. Not that they're all the same. I don't want to make it sound like they're all evil or whatever, but are these sects? Is that a word?
SECTS.
SECTS.
Yeah.
Sects. Yes.
Sects. Sects.
So, and I've watched a lot of documentaries on how these things get started, and it does kind of start similar to this. And extreme organizations are birthed in these types of groups. I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm not going to go into it, though, but that's how a lot of these little extreme organizations, kick off. And you get a lot of hate-filled, rhetoric, and that's kind of concerning. I'm not going to lie. That you're telling me about this Parler thing.
Yeah. You know what's funny? People are also leaving, they're like, "I'm not on social media, but I'm on Instagram."
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'll go, "Well, Facebook owns Instagram." And they're like, "Oh, well, it's different."
But it's not.
But it's
They're
not.
very wrong. So I actually took a break from all socials right after the George Floyd video.
Yep, I remember when you did that,
Yeah, because I said
which was in the middle of the pandemic.
yeah. So I mean, worst time for that to happen, right? Yeah. And I just was like, enough is enough, man. I've consumed and seen too much. Like my heart is just so heavy. I can't take any more. Because you go on socials, you see everybody posting about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, George should have done this," and da da da. And I hate seeing stuff like that because that is not what this is about. Right. And yeah, man, I had to take a break from social media it was only a week. My sister does it. Like she says, she'll take a break for like 1 or 2 weeks a month, which I think is really therapeutic.
Pretty healthy.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to your point you were saying earlier about working on you. Yeah. I think it's healthy and helpful to kind of take a break from
Take a
social
step
media.
back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing literally with my social life. Because of my job, I literally am on social media
Yeah.
for like 3 or 4 different pages that I run, on
Right.
all the social media accounts or outlets. So I can't really take a step back from, and mostly what I post on social media is something bullshit, something that I think is funny or sarcastic.
But you know what?
or
That's the
whatever.
kind of stuff that we need to see more of.
And
from
I've
just in
I've
general.
stepped up my game during this strange time.
Yeah, you have.
Because there's so much negativity and because
Right.
there's so much political stuff and because there's so much opinions about these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things to say is that opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one. And if it's anything like mine, it's got some lint in it.
I saw that too.
Something I say a lot. You
It
know,
was
it's
so
just-
nasty I couldn't even comment on it, but I saw it. I was like,
But-
okay,
But what I mean by that is that even though you have an opinion,
yeah,
there's going to be something in your opinion that I don't agree
course.
with because it's your opinion,
yeah,
right? It's not facts,
right.
and that's where the lint comes in.
And I hate that, like the Zuckerbergs of the world, like have completely gotten super rich off of people just giving their opinions. Like everyone's giving their opinion, no one's ever asked for it though. And then if you read some of these news feeds that kind of deal with the political and social climate, like there's fires and all these comments. There's people starting fights. There are family members who don't speak anymore because they get into arguments on social media. It's like, how old are we again? Like we're not mature enough that we can't talk these things out in person and come to a respectful agreement that this is how I feel, this is how you feel, and that's that. So it's not just black and white that's divided. It's just within your own circles, inner
everyone,
circles. It's
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Which
like I said,
politics does. Politics divides
very easily.
Quickly and easily.
I would say politics and religion.
Religion,
probably.
both, yeah. Those are the two things that I don't typically talk about.
Yeah.
If it can be avoided, I avoid it.
Right. Like I will say, I guess, just in terms of religion, I'm not like I guess, openly or overt spiritual person. Like you won't see me posting scriptures or whatever on social media. But I see it, other people do it. I'm not hating on it. That's your thing. Sure. But and I always tell people I don't have a religion because religion is divisive. I have a relationship, and it's not always the greatest, but it's there and it exists, and that's how I feel. And then I move on. I respect that. So I was talking to you a few weeks ago about how a friend messaged me something, and it was politically driven.
Yeah, somebody you haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, and finally we got back in touch because I had been texting, and he said he doesn't text often. He does more message, Facebook Messenger. So I tried that and then got through to him. We kind of went back and forth for a few days, just talking, catching up on everything that's happened over the last 8 or 9 months because I haven't seen him since January, February. And he sends me this message, and it's politically driven, and I didn't want to go into it because, like we just said, that's one thing we don't discuss. I don't discuss it, you don't discuss it, because of what it does to relationships. I think it's a relationship killer.
I agree.
So I don't go there for that reason. And I gave a very vague answer, but I put enough information in my vague answer to kind of let him know where I stand, and haven't heard from him since, which is really shocking because I haven't really been, I don't want to say the word victim, but I mean, I haven't been a victim of losing a friendship over something like that.
Right.
But it's going to happen, I guess, because that's just the way this country is moving towards now. And I was telling him, I said, one thing I'm really concerned about moving into 2021 is civil unrest. Mm-hmm. And I do think we possibly could be moving towards another revolution. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of bloodshed in the streets from across different races. I just think it's going to happen. And sometimes, I'm not an advocate for war, but I think sometimes certain things are necessary to kind of wipe the slate clean and start fresh. Yeah. And with the lockdown, to speak more to the, clean slate, it was very obvious that we as humans are the disease because we're the number one disease over all diseases. Yeah, because when we were locked down, you started hearing all these stories over in Italy and in Venice, the water was clearing up in the city. Dolphins were swimming closer to the city.
And it wasn't true.
It wasn't? I saw pictures.
I don't know what to believe. I have heard things on both sides saying that, since we're not emitting, emissions were lower, right? Because nobody's driving, that, cities, like the smog in LA cleared up. I don't think it did. People were saying that you could see like dolphins in France or in Italy or whatever it was. I don't know what to believe. I don't think that was true.
Wow, okay. So consider me duped then.
Well,
because
as we always say on this podcast, like fact check us and let us
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
If you can find an article that says that really happened, I'd love to know it.
Yeah. So even if that's all been debunked and that none of that's true, I still 100% believe that the human race is the disease because there's just an evil nature in the hearts of men that always find a way to come to the forefront in various ways. So
There's a lot of shows that I've been kind of getting into this year that were really big. There was a movie that you and I both watched together called Palm Springs, which was a Lonely Island movie that's on Hulu. So that was another one of those movies that was released this year that didn't go to theaters. It was just a streaming movie on Hulu, and really funny. It was a Groundhog Day premise,
Yes.
time loop movie,
With a twist.
With a twist, and it was such an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
Like, I actually watched it 3 times, I think.
Like all pretty much in a very short time frame.
I think in about 2 weeks, I watched it thrice.
Because you watched it, then I watched it with you, and then you showed
My
your
brother and sister,
and
yeah.
wife. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But it is a really good movie. I was shocked by it.
It was really good, yeah. So there's a bunch of shows that are new that IMDb has a little section called "What IMDb staff are thankful for this year," and they're talking about some new things that have come out this year that are really good, including Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is an Apple Plus show starring Jason Sudeikis, executive produced by Bill Lawrence, who brought us Scrubs and Cougar Town, and also Zach Braff directed the second episode. I've watched about 3 or 4 of these episodes on Apple Plus. Really funny show. It's the fish out of water idea where Jason Sudeikis plays a football coach from America that goes over to England and becomes a soccer team manager.
Wow.
And he knows nothing about the soccer. He brings another friend with him from America, and it's a really, really funny show.
Is the friend played by anybody? Anybody you know?
He's familiar. Let me look him up. Hold on. So it's Jason Sudeikis, and his friend that he brings over is Brendan Hunt. I don't recognize him.
Yeah, I don't.
But he's in Horrible Bosses 2,
Oh.
Bless This Mess, Key and Peele, a couple episodes. He's in the new Animaniacs. So just some different things he's been in.
Yeah.
So Ted Lasso is a really funny show, and to listeners, I would recommend it. For a long time this year, Apple Plus was offering a year free, but that just ended.
Yeah, okay.
And now it's one of the cheapest services. Like Disney Plus and Apple Plus are like $5 a month
Right.
or something. So it's like super inexpensive.
Well, it had like Lost in Translation vibe, which is quickly moving to the top of my list of favorite movies all time.
Okay.
And so I really want, and I'm a fan of Rashida Jones. Obviously, we're fans of Bill Murray, so I really want to see it.
So something else that started in 2020, actually started the end of 2019 and has carried over to 2020, Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has been incredible. I am a really big fan because I'm a big fan of Star Wars, but I'm also a big fan of Jon Favreau. And Jon Favreau has taken Jon Favreau has taken the Star Wars franchise into a whole new direction with this show. And it's familiar, yet it's new. It follows the story of this bounty hunter, and he's a Mandalore. He's a Mandalorian, and they have this creed where they don't take off their mask, and they uphold these beliefs, and they find people that people are looking for, like bounties.
Right.
And it's a really well done show.
A really well done show that I still have yet to see any of, and people jump on me all the time about it.
You are using my Disney Plus login. You need to watch this show, bro.
I agree.
It's so good. But I mean, you were talking about how there's not a lot of free time that you have for doing these type of things. I know you just got a new PS5.
Oh man, yeah, I'm on
And
that
have
heavy.
you even played that yet?
I played it 4 or 5 nights in a row when I got it,
Okay.
and that's part of the reason why I don't sleep as much
So
anymore.
I know that there's a Disney Plus app on that device.
There is.
So use my login and watch
Okay.
this.
Before I forget, because I'm so scatterbrained, and I think to speak to being so scatterbrained, so throughout this year, I've dealt with anxiety, heavy depression. At this age, I never dealt with anything like that before, so it was kind of a shock to me. So I was shocked. Yeah. I was anxious about everything. I was suffering from depression, disappointment, frustration, just a lot of negative energy at the top of the year, carried over from 2019, things that happened. And I wasn't sleeping a lot. And I was talking to my dad recently, just telling him how I can't remember the last time I had just 2 nights in a row of solid sleep this whole year. So we're talking a full 12 months.
Even last night, like you said you didn't go to bed till 5:30.
Yeah.
Well,
And the thing was,
Were you watching Mandalorian till 5:30?
shut up. I swear I'm gonna watch it this week at some point. I'm here for a whole week.
But really, what were you doing until 5:30?
Honestly, a lot of nothing, man. I mean, but the thing is, I can't. I'm not the person I'm not the type of person where I can just go to bed if I'm not sleepy. Because I will just lay there and my mind will race, which is something that hasn't happened for probably the last 15 to 20 years. But all of a sudden this year, my mind has been racing. I've been dealing with a lot of things really stemming from 2019, things that have happened that, like we talked about before, that are unresolved. And I was talking to my sister, because she'll check in with me also from time to time, like you do, just to say, hey, you know, how are you? Are you sleeping? You know, are you eating, da-da-da? Yeah. And, you know, I'll tell her, or I was telling her, you know, I'm not sleeping, you know, weeks on end where it's like 3 or 4 hours here or there in the middle of the night, and I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm up and I can't go back to sleep. Right. And she's like, and I said, I'm starting to feel like maybe, like chemically my mind is different, like, because I'm really, like, cloudy sometimes mentally, like not as mentally sharp. Sometimes I'm really, like, short-term memory is really fading for whatever reason. It didn't happen until this year. And I thought it wasn't a big deal earlier this year. But now that I had this job, I've been working from home for 8, 9 months. I'll be doing something and then I'll go to another screen, or I'll get a phone call, or I'll be talking with one of my coworkers, and I'll go back and I'm like, what was I just doing? And that's a phrase that I've been using often and I've been noticing. And my sister was telling me, you know, how lack of sleep affects your brain chemically.
Your cognitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's talked about how chemically it can alter your brain function to some degree, and you will have that scattered brain, that cloudy.
Have you tried Sleepy Time tea or ZzzQuil or anything like that, like natural melatonin take?
I've actually been hooked on Xan. No, I'm kidding.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I am kidding, 100%. I am drug free. Just say no to drugs.
I will tell you this. Since my divorce, I have had trouble sleeping too. So the last like 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even before that, I was having trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I started drinking, like the year after my divorce, somebody showed me Sleepy Time tea, and I really got into it. And I would drink it like 2 or 3 times a week, and it really helps me. It's got melatonin in it. It's caffeine free, of course. It literally it's a more homeopathic way to aid in sleeping.
Okay.
And then that didn't work. I guess my body tends to do this. My body gets used to things, and it won't have the same effect anymore.
Right.
Much like deodorant or whatever else, a shampoo or whatever else I'm using. My body just like, no, you gotta find something else that's not gonna work.
Why can't we get used to not spending money? Then we would have more money if we didn't spend as much. Well, we're never used to not spending money.
Where did this come from?
It's my brain, man. Whatever. This
I was like in the middle of a story.
You really were. I'm so sorry.
Jeez
Go back.
Louise.
No, but you're getting to a point.
And then I started using ZzzQuil, and ZzzQuil really helped.
Oh, really?
Like it knocked me out. Like NyQuil I always really worked on me whenever I'm sick, have a cold or something. I'll take NyQuil. But ZzzQuil is just a sleep aid.
Since we started this podcast, it was I think the beginning of September, because it was Labor Day weekend. Because I was here for a few extra days, and that's when we had breakfast. And you said, "Why don't we just go record?"
Let's just go record right now. Yeah.
And that's how it started, which I think is a very
a lot of times
ingenious way to do it.
A lot of times it's what I have to do, man. I'm like, look, I've been thinking about this or talking about this for months or weeks or days. Let's just go do it.
Because it gets to a point where you can talk about it forever, but it can never get done. Yeah. So you have to just go and do it.
Just pull the trigger and go.
Yeah. And which was a very improv moment for you to say that over breakfast, and we do that. So here we are, you know, at the end of the year, 4 months in. Do you have any thoughts on the 4 months we've been doing this?
I can tell you so many positives that have come out of doing this.
Yeah.
Just this past week, you texted me and said, "Man, I am so thankful for our friendship. We have gotten so much closer." And I don't know if you like you and I are both our closest friend right now.
Yeah.
And kind of have been for a while.
Right.
You know. And that's super important. You know, I believe heavily in relationships, and I invest the most in relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that this has been a great thing for us.
Yeah, well, because, you know, we talked about this on our inaugural intro pod, was that we met 10 years ago, and we've recently reconnected like the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep, through the game night with through the game night with Jason and Mandy.
Right. And like you said, this has brought us closer together, but I think the dynamic of our relationship has changed and it's evolving, which I think you should always strive to evolve.
Of course.
In whatever arena that you're in life.
Of course.
Especially if it's going to enhance the experience that you're already having and feeling. And so I think that this is going to be something we could use to springboard to whatever else we decide to create with each other, work together. Yeah. I hope this is something we can continue, for as long as we live.
Exactly.
Where we can always create different things
There's
together.
no limit to this podcast.
Right.
There's no limit to our boundaries of what we can create.
Unless we die.
Unless we die.
So, I mean,
yeah.
But this has been something, like, I guess the word I would use is this whole experience over the last 4 months has been life-changing. It's been beautiful. I mean, I love this. Yeah. We always get, to this day, we still get feedback that I love you guys' rapport. It comes off the page really. It's organic because we've known each other for so long. Yeah. And just to think, like one movie 10 years ago spawns all this other stuff.
All this other stuff,
years later, you just would never see the vision.
Yep. Also, I don't know if I told you, but I'm a No Limit soldier.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's crazy that you said that. Yo, shout out to Master P, man. That's so crazy that you said that. What made you say that?
I don't know. Things make me think about songs. Yeah, we said No Limits, and I was like, oh, No Limit soldier. I thought I told you.
Since we talk about that, this doesn't really tie into the story, but my senior year of high school, I reflect on that year a lot. I noticed I've talked about it a lot. It was my best year of high school.
It was a pretty pivotal year for you.
Yeah. So that year, like No Limit Records is like at its peak. Yeah. And I remember like guys would like skip school to go get the new No Limit tape. They had like 50 artists and they were always dropping stuff. Yeah. And aside from that though, one of my friends at the time, he was a rapper. He wanted to be a rapper. It was him and his brother. We called them twins because they looked just like each other. One had longer hair, one had shorter hair. That was pretty much it. And I can't tell that story because it doesn't tie to anything. I want to talk real quick before we close about, I guess, our vision for the podcast moving forward. Yeah. We talk about this podcast, what we want to do in the future often, like almost on a weekly basis now. And I think we're really starting to hit our stride in terms of.
We've had a few guests come on, which is what we wanted to do. So we're meeting our goals that we've set up for ourselves.
Yeah, and we're not setting goals that are too ambitious, I don't think. Right. They're goals that are tangible. Yeah, they're tangible, exactly. And I know we've talked about at some point wanting to do live shows.
Yep, there's a couple of things that we want to improve on, which we finally reached a place where the sound is the best I can make it.
Yeah.
There's a million ways to skin a cat. You've heard that term before. We've tried all these different ways to record this podcast. We finally landed on a medium that sounds great. Yeah. In my opinion, as a sound engineer, I think it sounds good. We're going to step into the video realm at some point, and we're also going to explore maybe doing live shows. Yeah. Which is a possibility with the comedy group. So I got to talk to those guys and see if we could open up for a Car 53 show.
That'd be really
with
cool.
one of these podcasts, and maybe have a couple of them on there too and talk about that. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, it will be there will be a better way for us to kind of like reach out and touch the fans, so to speak.
Well, and to gain new fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
we'll have that crossover.
Yeah. So the guys, we sincerely appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you're a first-time listener now, or if you've been listening since the beginning, the over the past like 12 or 13 episodes that we've had, we really appreciate you guys, and we'd love to know, like, let us know in the comments or in the email, or let us know what you think of how we're doing. Other than knowing the amount of downloads we've had, we don't know what kind of feedback we want. Right. So like, let us know, guys. beardsandflickspodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're not on Twitter, which maybe we could explore that. We have a YouTube channel, which is basically just the audio version of this.
Static image, yeah.
Static image that Podbean just creates for us.
Which is weird because we do have some views from YouTube.
Yeah, there's some views on there.
So some people actually will just like.
Some people that aren't on social media. And a lot of our the majority of our listeners are on Spotify. Yeah. Which is how I listen to podcasts.
Same.
Some of the other big chunk of our listeners are from Apple Podcasts. A lot of people click on the Podbean link and listen to that on our Facebook page and or our Instagram link. But we appreciate all of you listeners, and we have some big plans coming up. So
stay tuned, guys.
Thanks, guys.